When you partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron.
Hey, what's rule number one? What's rule number one?
Party.
No, not party. No, it's not party.
It is definitely not rule number one here on the Moving Iron podcast while we're recording. Anyway,
At least. Usually.
it's been a while since I've had Aaron Finnell back on here. He's been busy doing all kinds of fun stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
Been haying a little bit, selling some tractors here and there. All kinds of good things going on. So how you been, buddy?
Slinging iron, rolling hay.
There you go.
There you have it. That is literally every minute of the day. One of those two.
That's good. You been good?
Yeah. Probably should have different hobbies, but been good. Can't complain.
A lot of people say that about me too.
Living in a swamp.
It is. I tell you what, there was a fun fact. The month of June, Scottsbluff, Nebraska was the wettest place in the country.
Yeah, they're like, Scott, I heard that on the radio. They're like 5 inches or 7 inches ahead for the year.
Which when you get 5 to 7 inches,
That's a start.
So, but it's been a unusually wet year. I don't know that it's ever
And cool.
been like this. It's been wet and cool, but not like this since I've been out here anyway.
No, 19 was kind of similar to this. And I want to say, was it 17 maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that. 16 maybe. But yeah, it's not very common.
Been very consistently wet.
Yes, we went from maroon on the drought monitor to dark blue on the root zone monitor.
Yeah. Right. So it's been unusually wet year. We've had plenty of moisture. We don't really have the heat to come along with that, but we've gotten about everything else. Crops look good. We got grass as tall as I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
And usually by now, even when it's wet, it's turning brown and it's not.
I swapped grass hay that touched the push bar on the front of the head.
Look at that.
Can you believe that shit?
Yes. Considering where
it wasn't brome.
Yeah. So it's been a crazy year, and I think we can say that we start looking at what's going on in the equipment side of the business. It has been a crazy year for sure. So if you take a look back, kind of go rewind the tape here a little bit, go back to 22. Everything was kind of rolling through there when you saw stuff not showing up when it should, and used equipment crunches and this, that, and the other thing. A lot of on-farm income that got kind of deferred to 23. So that first quarter 23, first half of the year 23 has been really very strong when you look at equipment sales across the board. But it kind of feels like to me we are seeing slowdown's not the right word to use, but it's just a little more caution in the market than we've seen in the past.
You have to, if you are in the business of selling farm equipment now, you have to sell.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Guys are still buying stuff.
Yeah.
Equipment's still moving. You just can't say,
right.
Hi, here's a tractor. Oh, here, got a pen?
Yeah. And I think
it takes a little selling now.
Yeah. So when you have And I think some of that pressure that we're feeling about the slowdown in the marketplace is that just what you just said. I mean, we've had conversations with guys about what's going on in their marketplace and those kind of things. Their response to me has been, well, I think we're getting a few tractors on the market. You know, we're starting to see tractors pile up. Like, oh, really? How long have you had them? Well, we've had these for like 30 days.
Right.
Well, come on, man. I mean, up until 2 years ago, I mean, if we had a tractor for 3 or 4 months, that was pretty common.
Yeah.
I mean, that was not a big deal. Even up to 6 months.
Yeah, I was going to say 6 months. Don't
Now-
even think about moving a tractor yet.
So there's I think there's a lot of that readjusting back to what normal is now. And you know, I've kind of taken a look at that, and it's just the things that we see happening now aren't, oh my God, the sky's falling. It's, oh my God, things are back to normal.
Yeah, and I would say from where normal started before the ramp up, we're still way better than normal.
Oh, sure.
But it just takes a little effort now.
Yeah.
And the other thing from the dealer standpoint, yeah, it would be great that we have no inventory. Let's keep it clean. Let's keep banging stuff out and just run lean and mean and as healthy as can all be. And that's a beautiful idea. But the reality is everything else just slows down so much you can't keep that going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can, but it would take everybody 24/7 doing that to even have a shot.
Sure. So I think when you're looking at
now, it'd be a good, it would be from a dealer standpoint, it'd be a great time to readjust what your levels are, your tolerance levels,
Sure.
if you will.
Yeah.
But it's not just it's all gone.
Yeah. Well, I also think too, you got to take a hard look at
this is real life. It's not Aladdin.
you got to take a hard look at where you're at and look at the number of dollars, comparing dollars to past year. I mean, that's just, you got to take that out of the mix.
No, the dollars thing is
Yeah.
that flew the coop halfway through last year because everything is so crazy high.
Yeah. You got to start looking at units. And I think if you go back and look at units where you're at now, where you're pacing at, go back and look at some previous years and see what you're pacing, where you're kind of matching up to, and start looking at demand, because demand has changed dramatically. And it's not like, we've talked about on here before, you know, the strains of buyers and what those look like.
Right.
And where those stratospheres are and how those things stack up. And the one thing I will say about more than anything is how hard and fast those buying groups are right now. I mean, if you take a look at where they're at, they're not a bunch of people jumping from like a 9770 and going out and buying a brand new S770, right? You don't see
right.
Even like in past booms where you saw that kind of stuff happen, primarily because of cost and what that looks like.
It's like your 2,500 hour tractor buyer. He ordered that one new one,
right?
And now he's back to the 2,500 hour tractor,
right? Yeah. So we've got,
and that's purely due to interest more than machine price.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Everybody knows that the new or the 1 year old stuff is pretty girthy on the price scale.
Yeah,
but that is not usually a deterrent at all compared to what interest rates are.
Right.
And that, like, nobody's paying 15%, okay, or shouldn't be. If you can run paper on machinery under 7%.
Sure.
That's not that damn bad. But when you're coming from one, it's a lot, and that's what I think something else we're facing. We had such cheap interest for so damn long that was just instantly carved in stone with everybody. And that's where we're at. So now that we're in, yeah, it's a little heavy, but it's not crazy by any stretch. It's a lot of breaks.
So if you go back to 2006 and look at interest rates, then they were 5.5 to
Right.
6%.
Right.
But you're also buying a brand new combine for $180,000.
Or 250.
Right.
Right.
So now you're buying that same combine at 6.5% interest.
Another percent higher and twice the price. No big deal.
So it does make.
But if you look at the grand scheme of things on a microcosm, what has the average farm yield done in those 17 years?
Well, sure. Yeah, no, I don't.
I mean, it's economics of scale. Granted, there's no way that farm bumped that much, but things change because things change.
Well, sure. So I think, but at the end of the day, the who was actually looking at buying a I think what I'm getting at here is that what's your $225,000 trade difference or whatever it is that the last time they bought one might have said whatever $225,000 trade difference. Today they're buying that same machine with $225,000 trade difference, but it's got 2 or 3 times as many hours as it did.
Right.
Then. So that's the thing I think you're looking at. And I think another thing too, if you're looking at the market where that and how that plays together is,
or quite simply that 225 is 350.
Yeah, pretty much. And the other side of that too is you start looking at buying activity that you see happening now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very similar to what you saw in 17, 18, 19, where a certain stratus of equipment was started showing up as being a very popular machine to sell, like the 3,500 hour tractor,
right,
or the 800 to 1,000 hour combine, or because a lot of that had to do with I got this much equity in the one I'm trading in, I got this much cash, and the banks, that's what they're going to let me do.
Right.
And so I can go in and do that, and they're going to finance this amount, and away we go. And that machine fits that thing. You start to see more and more of that pop up.
Yeah.
So when I'm saying that the market's going back to more of a quote unquote normal feel, that those are the things you see in a normal marketplace. It's not all rushed to one side or all rushed to the other side. There's a little bit of everything going on. Everything's churning, but there's a large amount of these guys are just aren't like coming in and saying, "Okay, I'll take it." They're like, "Oh, let me think about this one for a minute." I mean,
there's a lot more. I don't know how to word that. More thorough, thought processes involved than just here, sign this.
And that's a normal market.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a normal market. So
absolutely.
So we ventured back into that. Now, all that being said, I think it's worthwhile for us to talk about the auction market today, because today is what, July
7/7.
7/7/23. So we're close. You know what I mean? I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Close to 7/8/23.
Yeah. The 7/7/25, then you get 7/7 plus 2 plus 5 is 7. So you see where I'm going with that?
Neat.
Okay.
Nice save.
Anyway, if you had that kind of squared away and you were thinking about what was going on with the upcoming auction marketplace, to me, we've talked about how we would see this coming, and there's going to be some opportunities to really do some things. The amount of stuff heading to auction right now, every week, is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just combines. It's everything, man.
Right.
It's 8Rs. It's high horsepower row crop tractors, 4-wheel drive, sprayers, of all things sprayers. I've seen sprayers on the market, and there's like 4 sprayers to be had in the United States.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, why are you putting that on auction?
Right. Well, open, that could be, here it is. Turn everybody loose on it and see. Maybe that's the strategy, because that does happen.
It does, but still, what?
You're not in control.
Yeah, you're kind of throwing the dice out there and hoping that you get 7s.
Right.
And you might get a 4.
Right.
So I think if you take a look at what's going on, I have this like pit in my stomach right now, though, and as I look at auctions start to come in and where the values are trickling into and what's that look like and how those things are coming into play, that we are headed for a rough fall as far as values go. And I think if you're going to start seeing a deterioration in value, because we're seeing some deterioration in value right now, but it's not like, oh crap, combines lost 25% last month.
No,
It's, everything across the board settling in plus or minus a few $1,000s.
right.
You know what I mean? As far as advertised price goes. And again, auction values aren't like they're
No,
one
nothing.
month you lose 30 grand on whatever. Like you saw that month. It's a few percentage points here and there, and it's not a big deal. I think as we head into the typical fall auction cycle, we are going to see a significant amount of machines get put on the marketplace, and as I don't, you're going to see something happen
Right.
with market. I mean, what's your feeling on that?
Well, we've talked a lot about when this does fall, it's going to be as painful as 14, but completely different, because in the 14 fall, it was 11 billion things we got to move. Now it's 10, but $11 billion at stake.
Yeah.
So there's far less machines to move, machine population wise, but the losses per machine could be far greater. Now, the other thing involving that is, as I just lost my train of thought. That's spectacular. Oh, as we also don't have, with that machine population, we didn't have 3 customer segments all jump to 1.
Sure.
Like we did in 10 through 12.
Yeah, sure.
The old 9600 traded on a new 9770. We didn't
Right.
deal with that this time.
Right.
So that is a big benefit, keeping the machine population down. But there are some machines out there that are going to be just absolutely gross when it hits the chopping block.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take on it.
Well, no, and I think
I personally think maybe we're a little further away from that than you do, but we're looking from 2 different things. You put the canary in the coal mine. I'm the first one that sees it dead. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's coming, and then it's like, oh shit. Okay. Rewind real quick.
Yeah.
Punt on pivot.
I think that what I'm most concerned about is that one segment is going to jack it up for everything else.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah. And that's exactly, well, and this is just kind of my 1 minute take on it in review. That's what happened with the 14 stuff. Combines and planters drug everything else way, way, way down.
Yeah.
I think this time you're going to see even tractors. And I think you're going to see that this time for sure, just like you're saying. Just because you have such substantial dollars involved in everything.
Right.
That there's no choice, but it's going to pull those 22, 23, 24 tractors down with everything else, warranted or not.
Right.
That's the market.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at the sell bills as they come through, one thing we saw the last time something like this happened was that it was very heavy combines and planters.
Right.
We're not going to see that this year.
No.
Or this time around. You're going to see very much a pattern of a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And there might be more of one thing than another, but it's not going to be heavily dominated by combines or planters, or it's just going to be few of this, few of that, and it's just going to be a
Right. And that's not to say it won't be combine heavy, but it won't be a glut.
and you know
Their combines and auctions are always going to be a thing because they're a hell of a lot of dollars sitting there for, as far as the dealer's concerned, 10 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So the dealer side of it is always going to be lumping them off at auction all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, it's going to be a more even mix, and we just don't have the machines.
You know, the other thing too that I think is going to be different about this time, and it's going to be, you know, people like us that watch and pay attention to it and see it happen, is that if you're a spectator of auctions and you're watching auctions, what's the one thing that's not as big of a deal as it used to be when in the auction world? The big one day, we're going to sell off $12 million worth of shit in one day.
Oh, right.
So now you can be a dealer now and say, I want to get rid of 25 combines, for example, or whatever. And you can get with these online auction companies, and you can sell, you know, 3 combines a week at every one of these sales for 2 months and sell 25 combines. And if you don't know any better, you just think that they just got 3 combines or so.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you're going to see, I think that's going to play a psychological game with people that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because now they're going to see, oh, did you see those 25 combines sell or wherever? I mean, do you remember how we used to do that? We used to get all excited. We'd be like, oh, we're going to fly out and watch that one. You know?
Right.
Well, now you don't have that spectacle anymore. You know?
I know. And that's a shame.
It is.
I miss the dog and pony show.
It is and it isn't. You know what I mean? Because now if I'm a guy buying a combine, yeah, I might be keeping track of how many combines come up for sale.
Right.
And you keeping track of values and those kind of things. But the psychological effect of watching 25 combines sell, and then after that sale's done, in your head, you're like, that combine over there is worth this much money now.
Yeah, exactly.
Watching 3 sell, okay, next one, I mean, you know, whatever. It's just, you don't have that psychological disadvantage, I guess, that we're going to see now.
As the seller. Disadvantage of the seller. Yeah. Or as the buyer, you know, to your point, you got to watch 5 different auctions instead of I can go to that one that day and see 55 Class 8 combines sell.
Sure. Yeah.
Now it's, I got to watch this auction this day, that auction that day. And that makes it, you know, like you were saying, the psychology of it, unless that guy is super dialed in on all of that, it takes away they sold 10 of them yesterday and they brought this. They sold 1 and it brought this.
Yeah. So I think,
but then the next day they sold 1 over there and it brought that. And then the next day they sold 1 over there and it brought that.
Yeah.
Who's watching that close enough?
Yeah. And it also might have an effect on pricing to where we don't see a huge just fall off the cliff in the pricing, because that's not fresh in anyone's mind when they go to the next sale.
Right. And I don't think I was going to say something. I changed my mind on that. I don't from the buyer standpoint, from the seller standpoint, you're going to see, and this is the angle I thought you were going with it. I don't think you're going to see the cliff just because of there's so many dollars involved. And I think the potential losses per item, like I mentioned before, are going to be a big, basically foot riding the brake all the way downhill. You know what I mean?
Well, that
does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, the scenario that you're laying out there, to me, allows to see more consistency in auction values. You know, sell over sell.
It's a 0 entry pool, not a jump in the 10-foot.
Right. I just think, because if you watch 10, okay, so say you have 10 machines, right? You got 10 machines that sell, and you're going through, I mean, everybody's got an online auction now.
Right.
I mean, freaking everybody does. Everyone's got an online auction. And if you watch it sell and you see 10 machines sell in one day, but 10 machines sold, but you're watching 2 of those 10 sell, right?
Right.
So you see them sell for whatever, $200,000 or whatever the number is, right? And the next time the one comes around, in your mind, well, this is worth $200,000.
Right.
You don't know what the other 8 did. The other 8 might be sold for an average of 180, but you saw those 2 sold
Or 275.
right. So the consistency in sell over sell might actually be tighter.
Yeah.
Because there's not, again, that whole like, oh man, we had 2 auctions. Because remember, you'd see that happen. There'd be one sell it'd have whatever, 10 or 15 on it. And 2 weeks later, there'd be another one that had 10 or 15 on it. And then 3 weeks later, there'd be one with like 25.
Yeah.
And so you watched.
And you want to be first or last,
right?
Not in the middle.
Yeah. So you watch 45 or 50 combines sell in 1 month, all of which were big chunks.
Right.
You can still watch the same 45 or 50 combines selling now, but it's one hitters,
Right.
or 2 hitters in the same cell all the way through. And I think that is where there's an opportunity that the way the auction market's setting up, unless you subscribe to something that's going to give you cumulative data of all the auctions that happen, it's going to be hard for you to sit there and say, I know what the auction value for a combine is.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of free online places out there that you can go find those things. You can find that data.
Right.
But it's not.
Well,
but everyone doesn't get everyone's stuff.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Machinery Peak does a good job with that. Tractor Zoom does a good job with that. But you start looking at some of the other ones that are out there, they're not getting, 1,500 auction companies sending them stuff.
No, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that's the thing there. So if you don't have access to that stuff, then you don't really know.
Right.
So when you watch 1 or 2 sell in your mind, this is what the market is.
Yeah,
So,
that makes perfect sense.
Instead of I watched 15 sell today and they started at X and they ended at Y.
Yeah.
That was, so that might have a completely different look and feel than what we're used to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think it will be that way, but it'll be interesting to see where we, to use a term you haven't used in a couple of years, where the soft bottom will be as we get late summer, early fall in, if guys are liquidating in season, preseason, that kind of thing. It'll be interesting to see how far off that soft bottom is from, say, 12 months prior, which will be a huge gap.
Yeah.
And then how far is soft bottom from, well, anybody will give us a check at this number.
Right. Yep. And the other side of that too is
it going to be a marshmallow bottom or a wet clay? Like it's firm, but it's still soft.
Very slippery.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking at that too it'd be interesting to see how many guys are done at the end of 23.
Yeah.
How many retirement sales you're going to see? Because they hit their lick now twice, and this is
now they're going to punch out.
They're gonna, yeah. So I think some of the guys that were not quite ready to retire in 2013.
Yeah, okay. Put that in correlation with the average age of the farmer.
Sure.
Right? 65 to 70, probably. Boatload of boomers in there. So that guy was in his 50s the last time he hit a lick. And then we went through the shit, and then one more good one. Now I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be, for lack of a better word, a cleanup of the rest.
I think you're probably right.
You had the early, look at it this way. In the 14 through 17 auction cycle, you had the early boomers.
Right.
Now in the 23 through 26, whatever auction cycle, you're going to have the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that's gonna be interesting to watch how many consignment sales there are, or retirement sales are out there. You know, how we start seeing coming up. So into 23, early 24.
Yeah.
That'll play a big part as well. So I never really gave that much thought about the auction thing till we started talking about it. I was kind of thinking in my head because we're not gonna, so I've kept saying like someone somewhere is gonna dump 25 combines on one day and it's gonna be
right.
Combine market's gonna go down, but
I think because of the potential losses, nobody's going to do that.
Well, if they do decide to do that, they'll still sell their 25 combines, but it'll be over 2 months.
Yeah.
And it will be
scattered,
and it'll just be kind of,
well, just look at it this way. Everybody's kind of doing their own auction data management experiment there.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. That's going to be interesting to watch how that plays out, because that'll give that's a new dynamic that we've not seen before.
Right.
Online auctions aren't anything new, but that's kind of your choice now.
It's, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, yeah, Steffes and those guys out there that are still doing the online live auction thing.
But it's rare.
Yeah, it's just not as
even your smaller town guys are pretty much online. It worked, and it's way less cost for them. So,
and the buyer wants that.
No, the buyer wants to go and have his hot dog and a Pepsi and talk to the neighbors and all that, man. We need the dog and pony show.
Not the guy in Georgia.
The problem with online auctions is
it's in Nebraska.
It's too damn easy to sit at your laptop in your office and buy shit all day. That's the problem with online auctions.
Very true.
And then we got to go pick all that up.
Yeah. Dang. Ooh, yeah, I forgot about trucking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, trucking. Forgot about that. All right, man. Probably a good place to stop. Any last thoughts you want to throw out there before we close it down?
Not that I can really think of. I mean, stuff's clicking and guys are looking, reach out, man.
And how they do that?
Well, interesting you should ask, Casey. Call me or text me 308-760-1193. You can email me at aaron.fintel@movingironllc.com, and I am on all the social medias by my name. And on Twitter, I do a fair amount of wholesaling on there, so check that out also.
Right on. Okay. I am Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. Go to LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast. Check out the video version over on the YouTube channel, which is the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel. And you get all that information there. Go to MovingIronLLC.com for everything Moving Iron related, blog posts, all that fun stuff. They're all there. So go check that out. Plus all the information for the Moving Iron Summit coming up in Nashville, Tennessee, September 11th through the 13th. If you want to you want to keep an extra $50 in your pocket for your registration, be one of the first 150 people to sign up, and Axon Tire will take care of that for you. So give you the $50 rebate. We're getting pretty close to that 150 number. So if you guys are interested in doing that, do it ASAP. So I think that's about all I got, man. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour there in Fennel. Let's go do some iron, folks. Out.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here.